What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. Just wrapped up a very disappointing series against the Cardinals, but at least ended on a high note with that Mark Vientos walk-off. As always, we're going to be talking about everything that has been going on in Mets world for the last few days and give you a nice series preview for the Cubs series coming up as well, which I know a lot of you are probably excited for. If you're not following us on our social media, make sure you are at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Go subscribe to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel if you want to see the video version of this. They usually go up a couple hours later. So we like to put the audio up first, then the video version, just so that people have those options. But Mets'd podcast YouTube channel if you're interested in that. And then if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, whatever it is, dropping us a rating, dropping us a review, subscribing, downloading, it really does help us out. And we do have some more reviews to read out for the shout outs towards the end of the episode. So if you want one of those, remember to drop us a review. But James, you were back in America again still. And since you've been here, Mets are 2-1 or 1-2. Not looking the sharpest right now. I'm not saying it's your fault, but we might have to ship you back to Europe. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, thank God the Knicks won on Sunday, because if they would have lost two straight games like that, I was getting on the first flight out of here, because I know the Mets. We care about the Mets a lot, but it's still April. Knicks are in a dogfight playoff series right now, and a lot's on the line. Everything is on the line for the series. But this Mets team just kind of flat for the second series in a row. Kind of weird. Something you told me on Friday that's a little off-putting about this team that Brandon Nimmo said in the Mookie Betts podcast, which we talked about a lot. It's a great podcast, a great show, but that this team doesn't like playing in the cold.
You know, if it's just waiting for the bats to come around or something like that, you also have to understand that, you know, you've played in the Northeast in April, and it's cold. It's different, you know. It's different than when you go down to Atlanta or you even come out here to LA, you know, and you get more similar weather, and, you know, the ball flies a little bit better and is a little more consistent.
Which I don't think
he acknowledged it, which is weird.
I don't think anybody likes playing baseball in the cold. If you guys have played baseball before, at any time, like fall ball sucks, like March baseball sucks, like it just hurts your hands. It's not fun to be out there standing still when the wind's blowing is 45 degrees, but you don't really. Saying that out loud is crazy, especially Brandon McGroup in Wyoming. Again, we still love Nimmo and love these guys, but if you look at the way this Mets season has gone, those first two series at home were cold. They played like shit. They got on the road. They played in LA really well. They got hot when it was a little nicer weather. Suddenly they go to San Francisco and they get cold again. And then this series on Friday, especially Saturday was a pretty nice day, but then Friday was cold and windy, and they didn't seem like they had any. They kind of fell behind early and didn't really have a chance. So it's weird that that's happening with this Mets team. I'm sure there's much deeper, legitimate problems with roster that we talk about than like the fact that Brandon almost said in another podcast they don't like playing in the cold, but it just sucks to lose to the Cardinals. We talked about how much we hate them the other day. People were blaming me for the jinx. I kind of did jinx them a little bit, but like, just fucking hate this team. They're the worst. They're so snobby and so smug. The fact that thank God we beat them on Sunday, because they would have crawled back to 500 and they would have had a better record than us, but at least like ended the series nice. But just this team, I'll hate them forever. And this weekend did nothing to help that.
Yeah, no, I stand on business about what we said about the Cardinals. This Cardinals team does still stink. It doesn't mean that we didn't play poorly. We lost that series because we did not play well. It's not like the Cardinals particularly came out and were like, we're a so much better team than you. They smacked around Adrian Houser. And as much as we know that Adrian Houser was going to be this kind of pitcher, it is starting to get to a little bit of a point of frustration because he gives up those walks. He gives up those hits. He did get dinked and doinked a little bit here and there, but when he's not on, it is inevitable that he's going to give up 6-7 runs in appearance, and that's what happened in this one. So it's like, yeah, you kind of beat us, and I'm not going to make excuses, but if I am, you beat Adrian Houser, it was cold, and this is loser talk now.
Yeah, and we always knew they were going to lose the Houser game this series because Adrian Houser was going up against Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray right now, I told you guys in the previews, pitching like one of the best pitchers in baseball. And again, we saw firsthand that he looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball still. Looks like that would probably be one of the gems of this past free agent market. That seems like it had a lot of landmines in it, where he signed with the Cardinals very early on for a relatively team-friendly deal and just looks completely unhittable and incredible at that sweeper. But just, again, a weird series. And the vibe started kind of weird again on Friday. We were both in attendance. First game that we were both at since opening day, since I left the country. And cold, windy. Shout out Jerry. We had a fun time at the game. Shout out Ernie. Shout out Emily. Shout out my family. Like we had a blast. I had my first City Field Tupperware of the year. Had some sausage and peppers, some quinoa, some arugula. It was nice. Can't wait to not buy any food in that stadium all year and not give that team $1 on anything besides beer because I'm a stubborn individual. But cool that JD Martinez debuted. I think this was a moment that Mets fans were really waiting for, and nice to see him jump right in and really seem like he had his sea legs under him immediately.
Yeah, he had a really good day. Would have been great if that double could have just stretched a little bit. The boys made some bets on JD Martinez, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso for some RBIs, 2-3 RBIs, if you guys were wondering. We thought they were really going to get to Michaelis because that guy just absolutely stinks. But the wind died on that ball to right field. I had JD Martinez for a home run as well. Like, it would have been a big payout for me. We would have had some fun at Citi Field that night, but didn't end up going out. But yeah, he looked really good, and I know he struggled in game 2 in this series. Going up against Sonny Gray, I think he had 3 strikeouts in that game. But I'm not worried about his performance by any means. He's a great hitter. We knew he was going to be a good hitter, and it was nice to see what this lineup could look like with him in it. It did feel a lot deeper, even though they couldn't get to Miles Michaelis. They got a lot of hits. They just couldn't score runs.
And the whole tide changed in that first inning because Buttó set down the Cardinals, and then immediately Nimmo and Marte got hit to start the game. So you're like, okay, nice, we're on him. I don't remember if it was first and second or second and third, the first and third, but they were both on base. With
first and second.
Yeah, with Lindor, Pete, and then JD Martinez due up. And they went bang, 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 right down in order. And you're like, damn it. And then once that happens, you're like, okay, now the whole thing feels off. Michaelis gets confident. Also, just we got to bring up the best Miles Michaelis story ever since he started against the Mets. I forgot to do it in the preview, but just because I forgot about the story. He was in the Arizona Fall League probably, like 7, 8, 9 years ago now because he went to Korea and came back. And someone in the bullpen of the Arizona Fall League bet Miles Michaelis, because they're in Arizona, there's a lot of weird critters running around, that he wouldn't eat a lizard that they caught in the bullpen. So Miles Michaelis, I think, took a beer, if I'm not mistaken, remembering correctly.
I think it was a Sprite.
A Sprite. I know it was something with a fizz. Poured a little bit on the lizard and just downed it right there in the bullpen. Complete sicko behavior.
It was 13 years ago he did that.
Wow. 13
2011 for the Peoria. What is it? The Peoria Javelinas? Yeah, it is the Javelinas. Ew. How do I know the Arizona Fall League team names? That's disgusting.
But Miles Michaelis, grotesque human for doing that, and just not hitting him was really annoying, even though we were putting the ball in play a lot, making a lot of contact, had some men on base. The only guy who really got to him, for some reason, was Tomas Nido, who had a home run, a double, 3 hard hit balls. I tweeted out because streaks were flowing at the game. We were having a good time. I said, because he was on cycle watch. He had a home run and a double. And I was like, if Tomas Nido was a triple his next at bat, I'm the streak across the field. And luckily that did not happen. But he did put a fly ball to the wall. So I was like, oh my God, if this actually finds a way to drop. But the story, the one really thing I want to talk about from Friday is José Buttó, because it was his first start where he, I would say, struggled so far this season. Really the first time he struggled since he got called back up to the major leagues late last season. So we're on like a 15 start streak from Buttó where he was completely in control the whole time. And this one was a weird one because the line wasn't that good, and he gave up some mammoth home runs to Alec Burleson and Wilson Contreras. But overall, it still felt like a game that he was more in control than not. The final line wound up being 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 4 earned. And again, his 2 home runs were bad. He left a changeup low and middle to Alec Burleson that caught a lot of plate that he hit like 415 feet, 107 miles an hour. And then a sinker right down the middle of Wilson Contreras, who has some of the most underrated power in the league. I feel like he doesn't get lumped into these guys who have these godly exit velocity numbers at the end of the year, but he always does have them. 114 miles an hour. Both of them were smoked. Home runs were 860 feet combined on a very cold, very windy night in Citi Field. You guys know how hard it is to get the ball out of Citi Field, and it was for the Mets consistently all night too. So it was really impressive they got those. But after that Contreras home run that made it 4-0, Buttó retired 11 guys in a row through 2 outs in the 6th inning, and then couldn't necessarily get through that inning. They brought in a lefty to get Nolan Gorman out, Josh Walker. But his velocity was a little down. He had no fielder command whatsoever. Slider was way off. His changeup was moving in different directions. It seemed like he really couldn't command it. If you guys look at his pitch chart, the illustrator and Servant, the pitches he was throwing to righties were literally everywhere. It was middle, it was low, it was outside. He wasn't hitting any corners. He wasn't hitting any edges. So like I'm still confident because this was a start where he had absolutely nothing and he still almost got through 6 innings, but it's just he's a guy who's going to challenge people. The stuff is not exceptional. He's more of a pitcher than the stuff is. So if something isn't working, it's probably not going to work that well like you saw, but still bear down, still gave the team length. And again, as we're now seeing David Peterson, Tyler McGill have these rehab starts, it's going to be a competition. These next few starts are going to be important for Buttó to determine whether he's going to stay with us or not, but still confident in my guy and still want him to keep pushing because I still think there's a very good starting pitcher here.
Since last year, 64 innings and 13 appearances, 11 starts, a 3.38 ERA with a whip at 1.25, a FIP at 4.05, striking out about 25-ish% of the batters that he's faced. None of these numbers jump off the page, but you also got to remember, too, those first couple starts for him, even last year, went miserably bad.
Yeah.
Like, he has been good over the last probably 45 innings that he's thrown. And again, tiny sample size, but the stuff that Buttó has shown us at least gives us faith that he is one of the 5 best pitchers on this team right now, especially with how we saw Adrian Houser pitch. he also like the thing that I like about Budo is he's got a little bit of that bulldog in him. He doesn't have like bad body language. He was nibbling in this game, which was a little bit frustrating because normally he does kind of just go right at guys and attack. And we now saw that for 2 straight games with him going up against the Cardinals and the Dodgers. But at the same time, like you said, things weren't going well from him, and he was able to limit the damage. And the fact of the matter is, if the Mets can't score 4 runs off of Miles Michaelis alone, don't really deserve to win the game. And the bats just didn't show up when we needed it. Budo could have been better, but it's not really easy to win a game when you score 2 runs.
It wound up really just being 2 bad pitches, too, and they just wound up being
Yeah.
mammoth home runs because they were very bad pitches. But only 2 other hits. And any start where you wind up retiring 11 guys in a row is a pretty good start. And the key here, again, no feel, cold, windy night. His pitch is the changeup. That's a feel pitch. That pitch had no swings and misses for the first time in any start he's made with the Mets.
Wow.
And he still got 15 swings and misses overall. So just not having feel for that pitch, not being able to get the lefties with that pitch. Burleson hit the home run as a lefty on that changeup. So it's just the slider looked good, even though he wasn't able to locate it. The fastball still looked good, even though it had a little bit less velocity. And the big thing that has made Budo so good since the middle of last year when he came back up was alternating between fastball and sinker, like having 2 different looks for the righties and the lefties, which is something I like the most about him is that he's been really good limiting damage from lefties mostly since he's been able to come up. Now righties too with that slider. So still confident, still hopeful. I think it's just they got into 2 and it was, again, I don't know, 4 innings, 4 runs in 5 2/3. It could be significantly worse. The full season stats are still ERA in the 2s and WHIP barely above 1. So everything is still good overall.
And we also have to talk about the biggest story of the night, James. Do you remember what happened going for that 8th inning karaoke?
Yeah, oh my God. So Mark was a full-on corrupt in the ballpark on Friday night.
Oh, yeah. We drunk with power.
Yeah, we love a lot of the stuff Mets production does. A lot of it. Almost everything Mets production does, we fully support in this podcast. Almost everything. But they've been getting a little reckless this year with the 8th inning karaoke. For some reason, I'm Just Ken keeps winning. That song sucks. I don't like.
It's horrible.
I think it's cool. They've done it a few times. Good pop culture shit. But it feels like a lot of things the Mets are doing in the ballpark this year are for not like the normal base of Mets fans. It's not like
social media.
It's
social. It's so that someone like me or other people take a video of it, post it on social media, gets retweets, get 1 million views.
Totally, and we do that all the time. It's great. But Friday night at Citi Field, I want to listen to Piano Man. I just do. Yeah. I do. So then Piano Man was losing to I'm Just Ken. And then our buddy Ernie and Emily, they also wanted to listen to Piano Man. So Mark was like, okay, I have an idea. We were voting for Piano Man, but it was starting to lose by a lot in the polls. We were like, okay. Mark is like, you know what? I'm going to change this right now. And Mark, with his 80,000 some odd Twitter followers, tweets out the link and says, everybody vote for Piano Man. And in a matter of moments, we flipped the polls like 34%, 40%, flipped it around. Piano Man wound up winning narrowly. Mark got really drunk with power. Jerry was super impressed. He was loving it too. And we got to sing Piano Man because that's what we wanted to do at Citi Field on Friday night.
Yeah, with the agent in attendance, it's always good to show him what kind of clout we got going on over here. But it got 12K views on Twitter. So theoretically, probably added like 1,000 or 2,000 votes maybe to that 8th inning karaoke. And it was nice to be able to just be like, you know what? Nah, this is mine now. I control this. I make the decisions of what music we're playing in the ballpark. I tried it again on Saturday when I was there with Clay. Tried it again. I flipped it. It was, I think Piano Man was at like 31% and Miley Cyrus Party in the USA, which great song, banger, all about it. I was happy to lose to that one rather than I'm Just Ken.
I'll also say this. A Saturday day game is different vibes than a Friday night game. Saturday day game, I don't hate listening to Part of the USA. Saturday day game, mix it up, play whatever you want. But the Friday night game, Citi Field, like that's Piano Man territory. Like
and I tried it again on Saturday, and it was I think like 40-30. I did it, immediately started passing Party in the USA, and then I'm telling you, well, we probably know Mets production can see my tweets, and I'm sure they're pretty hip to that. I've been doing this for a couple games now. They started putting it on the scoreboard like crazy. Every half inning, don't forget to vote. Is Party in the USA going to take down Piano Man? Like kept mentioning things over and over again. And I just kept retweeting. I'm like, come on. Let's keep winning. I got a heat check. Party in the USA won. There was a lot of women in the ballpark on Saturday. Great. And I think they were really feeling Party in the USA, which like you said, it's more Saturday vibes. But ended up losing by 1%, 41% to 40. Totally brought back. I think the real test is going to be if we can do it with a song that nobody wants to listen to. Like we're going to pick the song that's getting smoked and see if we can get that one to win.
I think it's just a fun thing now we can like keep track of in this podcast. Like how many times you can, and we can use Messed Up Twitter power as well. Like how much we can sway these votes. So everyone keep track on that. Everyone here is probably following Mark. So keep an eye on that. Because again, we want to listen to Piano Man more than they let it go up there. But overall, not a good game. A really bad way to start the series. It felt like we had a pitching advantage, and we lose the
Yes.
game because heading into Saturday, we knew for sure we did not have a pitching advantage. And this was the game you knew we were going to lose the series, and it wound up being worse than I thought.
We knew we were going to lose, but I also felt not as bad as what actually ended up happening. Like, I know Houser got smoked by the Dodgers, but again, it's the Dodgers. That lineup is great. Like, I can understand, and that final line too was a little bit skewed because he ended up coming out with the bases loaded. Someone gave up hits there. Like, there was a lot of things going on, but he was just not sharp from the start. I mean, he wasn't really attacking the zone. He was kind of nibbling around the plate. I would love to start the Omar Narvaez conversation again about, like, he was behind the plate for this one. The Mets gave up a ton of runs against an offense that isn't particularly that great, but Houser didn't pitch well. I don't think that's Narvaez's fault by any means. Like, he was just throwing meatballs and walking guys and getting dinked and doinked, and just nothing was going right for him. And similarly, kind of knew it was going to be fucked at the start when Pete, on like a ball that Brendan Donovan hit down the first baseline for the first at bat of the game, tries to make a diving stop, clanks off his glove, rolls 25 feet to the wall, and he ends up getting a double off of what could have been an out. And I was like, oh, it's going to be one of those games where nothing is going to go right for us. And that's just kind of how it went.
Also, kind of shit that this year Pete it doesn't really matter. It's first base defense, and Pete is still the best.
Horrible.
It's been probably the worst defensive year in his career. OAA would bear that out. Also, just the fact that before the Mets came to the plate, you're losing 4-0 in a game at home.
Yes.
Like, that sucks. Like, that just really sucks. They couldn't limit the damage after that happened that inning. And then Houser wasn't really terrible after that, but then Josh Walker gave up the inherited run on.
We got to talk about Josh Walker.
Josh Walker.
He's got a balk problem. I even joked about it with Clay, who I was at the game with. I was like, oh, Josh Walker's in his balk. How is he going to balk in this run? And the next pitch, he balked, and I was like, oh my God. To be fair, because I couldn't see it on TV, did you see what happened? Did he balk? I don't know what he did. I can't find clips anywhere of it.
I was game casting most of this game because I was at the wedding on Saturday. Shout out Calvin Sabrina. Wonderful party, wonderful time. But yeah, I didn't actually see the video of it. Because once I saw it too, I was like so mad. I was like 6-0. I don't care. I'm going to put this away and focus on the party I'm at. But the worst part about Josh Walker is we still like Josh Walker. Josh Walker, I think, has pretty good stuff. And he's like a big imposing figure on the mound. Like, I think he's someone that there's real hope for as a major league reliever. But it's just,
especially now that Nate Lavender went down for the year with Tommy John surgery. He's out for the year.
No.
Yeah, out for the year. So he's not going to be playing. So Josh Walker is our backup now lefty in the minors. I think they called up Danny Young, who's also a lefty on Sunday.
Yes.
But Walker's got better stuff than Danny Young.
Yeah, Walker was still, again, like another cold, windy-ish day at Citi Field. Like, he was still throwing 94, 95 miles an hour from the left side. Like, with it's not great vertical break, but he got some good fastballs up there. And he got the sinker, and he was mixing in the curve, but it's just, I don't know. So he's like honing in. He's near being a good pitcher, but he's not quite there yet, which is fine. Still some development to do, but as long as he doesn't balk, it's fine. Then after that inherited run, the Mets bullpen shut down the Cardinals, gave the team a chance to come back. Pete had 200th home run of his career, which was really nice to see. I had the Pete 200 home run montage ready for a minute. And I put it up on Twitter Sunday afternoon.
82 minutes of Pete Alonso home runs. If you guys are feeling like spending an hour and a half being happy, you should watch that video.
Yeah, it's great. And it's doing great right now. It's got over 1,000 likes.
Should I?
It's got 100,000 impressions.
Should I upload that to YouTube, you think?
Why not? We could.
All right, we'll try it out. I might put it out on YouTube, but all 200 of Pete Alonso's home runs. Send me the file. Or no, you can upload it.
I can upload it. Yeah, I'll do it tonight when I do the episode. But yeah, I'm happy for Pete. Fourth fastest player in Major League history to 200 home runs, only behind Ryan Howard, Aaron Judge, and Ralph Kiner, which is so crazy that in the era that Ralph Kiner played, he got to 200 home runs that quickly.
He was such a dog.
5 or 6 game difference too between Ralph Kiner and Pete. And the coolest thing about Ralph Kiner, I've always wanted to make a TikTok about this, but I've never been able to like think about the right visual elements. You guys have no idea the Ralph Kiner's dating history.
It's insane.
I think it was Marilyn Monroe. I want to say it was Hepburn. I'll get the Wikipedia going right now just to look it up. But it, like, in terms of someone who was famous in like the 50s and 60s, the most legendary dating history I could literally ever imagine.
He dated Ava Gardner, who was like a huge actress. He dated Elizabeth Taylor.
That was the one.
Who was a huge actress.
Elizabeth Taylor's one.
Janet Leigh.
Elizabeth Taylor's
another huge one.
One of the prettiest women in the history of the world, Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
Legend.
Like the dude was getting around and not in the bad way. He was doing a good job.
Navy pilot in World War II. He has one of the funniest stories I've ever heard from like old baseball, where I think it was his rookie year, middle of his career coming up, and he was the MVP of the league. He had one of the best seasons in all of baseball. And he walked into the owner of the Pirates office. He was like a raise. And that's what this is. Baseball owners have all the power. I'm still reading Lords of the Realm right now. It's just an amazing book about baseball's financial history. It's sick. It's incredible. But something that if you guys are really like nerdy like me into this shit, like you'd love it. But if you're someone like Mark who doesn't read, you probably will not like it because because
Yeah,
500.
if there's a TV show, I'd watch it for sure.
Yeah, 500 dense pages about baseball financial history. But Pirates owner was like, "Oh, how'd the team do this year?" He was like, "Came in last." He was like, "All right, well, came in last with you. We can come in last without you. So you're not getting a raise." It's a legendary story. It's amazing. Also, World War II veteran Ralph Kiner, and legendary Mets announcer for a very long time. But happy for Pete. Also, just so incredible to think about Pete hitting this 200 home runs in terms of Mets history, because the Mets,
Yes.
as Don LaGreca will remind us, there's never really been a forever Met. And
There
right
might
now,
not be.
Pete's on the precipice of maybe being or maybe not being a forever Met again. And he has smoked every player in Mets history in terms of power and production. He is the quickest by far in Mets history. I tweeted out on Sunday the 200 home runs. Darryl, as a homegrown guy, is the next closest, and it took him an extra 100, I think 60 or 170 games to get there.
So a season.
Yes, basically a full season of baseball. And gotta remember, guys, one of Pete's seasons was only 60 games. Like, of course, we're not doing this by seasons, but just he lost a season that's going to wind up being 100 games in his prime when it's all said and done, which so sucks and it's completely ridiculous. But even when you look at a guy like Piazza, who came to the Mets in the middle of his prime, it took him 843 games to get to 200 Mets home runs, where it took Pete 710. That's also basically a whole season, 130 games fewer. David Wright, who's still a long way to go, but I think he's still the best player in Mets history, from 1,200 games to 200 home runs. Pete did in 700. It's like he's the best power hitter in Mets history. It's a chance he becomes the best hitter in Mets history when it's all said and done. And it was cool to make this montage and look back at like Pete's career, because he's been here 6 years now. Like, it was 2019 when this all started. He's grown up a lot. It was, I don't know, it was fun to see like the score bug change on SNY. It was funny to see the players that were like cheering for him the different seasons. Crazy to see like
Fargus.
Yeah, Ahmed Rosario and Michael Conforto like congratulating Pete like in the dugout. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. So cool to see the pitchers too he's hit these home runs off of. Guys like Kyle Barraclough, John Lester, like Madison Bumgarner, like seeing the iterations of pitchers that he's run through the last few years. It was cool. It's like, I don't expect anybody to watch all 82 minutes of it, but just like pen through it. I like going back and seeing the 490-foot one he hit in Minnesota that got to the third deck that scared their shit out of a middle-aged father up there. He was like, "Oh my god, how'd that ball hit there?" He's like shielding his like family from it.
Was that off of McGill's brother? I think it was, right? I think it was off of Trevor. It might have been.
I don't think it was. I think he has the one off McGill's brother, but I think it was off just some random. Like, seeing Wilson Ramos supporting Pete Alonso makes me feel weird about like these last few years of Mets.
I was half right. It's Matt McGill.
Yes,
not
that was
McGill. Yes,
that's hilarious. But it's just cool. I love Pete. I hope he's a Met forever. We don't know if he will be or if he won't be. I hope he is. And then the last thing we talk about from game two,
such a dog.
Lindor just didn't have a good game. That pop up with the bases loaded was brutal. The only at bat the game he didn't strike out in. So that one sucked. But
yeah, and we saw him get mad though for the first time since he tried to fight Jeff McNeil, which was, or maybe he did fight Jeff McNeil when he was running after a drop third strike. He clearly went onto the grass. He was very much out of the baseline. Like, the umpire made the right call. It sucks because they never make that call unless you actually hit the guy, and Lindor didn't get hit, but technically was right. Mendoza even talked about it after the game. He was like, I couldn't tell how far he was out of the line from the dugout. He was like, upon further review, it was a little bit further than I thought. Like, but I like seeing that Lindor got mad. Carlos Mendoza came out, gave it to the umpires too, was yelling. Stuff that we've missed from this Mets team in the past. A little bit of passion, a little bit of excitement. A manager that can get up out of the dugout and say something to the umpire without like taking 25 minutes to walk back. Like, it was nice to see.
Was nice to see. And this kind of brings us into the game on Sunday, where Lindor made up for a lot of it. He hit the big home run that tied the game, but Jose Quintana did something that no Mets pitcher has done this year, and that was complete 7 innings, which sucks to say. It's going to be May this week, but he one-upped it.
And then
he made it better. Completed 8 innings. He did 6 more outs than any other Met has gotten this year, which is remarkable. It's really cool, and something that, again, as we've gone through this month and we haven't gotten much length from rotation, this team desperately needed. And also was a major prelude to the Mets finding a way to win this game, because by him throwing 8 innings, we didn't have to use the glue guy Reed Garrett early. That made Reed Garrett available for the extra innings, where he shut down the Cardinals over 2 innings. Edwin Diaz pitching clean ninth. That's just, we can see now like the little like the cascading effect it has when your starting pitchers give you length, and you could use the better bullpen pieces when you really need them, and how great is this team. Because if he didn't do that, I don't think I'm about to win this game. And just shout out him for a very good start in what's been a pretty rocky season. Got his full season ERA down to 3.48. It started in the 5s before the game started. So just another reminder to everyone how small these sample sizes still are after a month of games, that we can still really move these stats around a lot. As we see Francisco Lindor's OPS click all the way back up to 700 again too.
Yeah, 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 3 Ks. He threw 99 pitches, 68 of them strikes. He just attacked the Cardinals hitters. That's what you have to do. Don't let these guys get on base, because they're just not really hitting for much. It's Wilson Contreras, who is the guy who's providing the most of the power. Nolan Arenado has a home run on the season. Paul Goldschmidt sitting 208. Weird thing from the stadium on Saturday. People were very loudly booing Paul Goldschmidt, and I didn't understand why. Has he done anything to the Mets? Am I forgetting something?
I think Mets just might hate the Cardinals. He could have had comments I don't know about, but I don't know. I think the Mets fans just hate the Cardinals. But Goldschmidt to me has always been one of the most.
They weren't booing anybody else.
He's one of the most
boo Paul Goldschmidt.
One of the most universally liked players I feel like in the league. Like he's never really done anything that's like had given me any kind of derision at all towards him. But also just love to see Quintana like attack the zone, like you said. Also, well placed curveballs when he really needed them. Getting through that eighth inning, striking out Wilson Contreras to end it, who has been the Cardinals' best hitter by far. Lots of emotion from Jose Quintana, a guy who's usually very even keeled on the mound. The most emotion I think we've seen from him as a Met, mostly because this is the first time he's pitched as a Met, and the team's been even within striking distance of 500. Because last year he had a broken rib, a stress fracture in his rib from a tumor in his stomach that somehow Mets medicals missed when they did the physicals. You do a pitcher, 1 elbow, 2 shoulder, 3 tumors. Like that would be my 1, 2, 3 if I'm giving pitchers physicals. And again, Mets missed it somehow, but amazing good innings from him. Set this team up to win. Lindor hit the huge home run, lefty, opposite field off of fat fuck Lance Lynn, asshole Lance Lynn, who just had nothing, like always, just was getting Mets hitters out left and right. But this going on congruently with the Knicks game too. It timed up perfectly to get to the end of this game as the Knicks beat the pussy 76ers and just get to extra innings.
We missed all the awful parts of this game. We missed the first 7 innings of this game because I'll be honest, I was watching Knicks. I was locked in. That game was unbelievable. One of the best basketball games. And that comes off of being at one of the best basketball games I've ever watched. But it was back and forth. Great. I fucking hate Joel Embiid. I hate Kyle Lowry. I absolutely hate Kyle Lowry. Campaign, too, can go fuck himself. Fuck the Sixers. Fuck Philadelphia.
I can't hate Campaign because he's such an idiot, and his bad shot selection was a huge reason the Knicks were able to get back in this game when they were down 10 late in the third quarter.
Crazy 3, yeah.
And he's just on defense. He's a complete mess most of the time as well. Like he does the thing where he lets you get by him and tries to steal the ball, which works like 1/8 of the time. And it worked literally once today, but also allowed Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart to blow by him a few times. But this Knicks Sixers series has me like incensed. I feel like rabid watching this as a Knicks fan because I've always not liked this team. But the Knicks, sorry guys for Knicks talk for not into basketball. We're doing for like 2 more minutes.
But, it's gonna be 2 minutes. Yeah,
but the Knicks and Sixers, like thinking about it, I was talking to my family and like some friends about this at the wedding yesterday. It's a rivalry, but it's never really been a rivalry because they've never been congruently really good ever in the team's shared histories. Because the Knicks were really good like way back in the 60s. Sixers weren't that good. Once Sixers got good, Knicks suddenly sucked. And then in the 90s, when the Knicks got good, the Sixers were horrific. And then the second AI got to the Sixers when the Knicks got bad again. And then we got the last like 10 years. Knicks have not been good. Now, right now, finally, it's like the first time ever that we've been good at the same time and have this playoff series where Embiid's being a dirty fuck. Every single play he does is dirty.
Every play. Did you hear Richard Jefferson, or not Richard Jefferson, Rucco was like, when he stepped on Josh, was it Josh Hart?
Yeah,
what did he step
on his shin.
When he stepped on Josh Hart's shin, he goes, I'm not going to say that was intentional. He goes, but that didn't feel like it was an accident.
And also,
I was like, whoa, the announcer calling him out.
There was a play where Jalen Brunson fell on the ground and Kyle Lowry stepped on him and tripped to get 3 free throws, where if you slow down the replay, Joel Embiid sticks his foot out and trips Jalen Brunson. And then the elbow. The big play where Jalen Brunson, who is so usually the most even-keeled, simple, like quiet assassin in the world, Joel Embiid sticks his forearm out, puts it right in Brunson's face. He's fighting around a screen or just trying to get up the floor. Jalen Brunson talked shit to him. He said, what was this for? What was this for? What was this for? And then I think Knicks were down 10 at that point too. And from that moment, Jalen Brunson was quite literally possessed. And then as this happened, Knicks fans completely took over Wells Fargo Arena. And Embiid was pissy about that after the game.
See his comments?
Yeah, they pissed it. It's supposed to be a good
Major
sports
loser.
town. Did you see after the game that we put a Knicks jersey on the Will Chamberlain statue?
I did. I saw that.
We're doing some really wild shit. We got to win Game 5 and just get out of the series, not go back there because we've been a little bit out of pocket Knicks fans. But we also deserve it because we should always be out of pocket because this team's awesome. But
the fucking Knicks.
Yeah, that was 5 minutes of Knicks talk. Sorry about that, guys. And then again, that game.
You know what? How I'm going to tie it back into each other though? God, I wish Mets fans could bring that same energy as Knicks fans. I wish we could have that because boy, oh boy, it is fun being that level of intolerable at times.
It is, but yeah, I think just the Knicks, right? The Knicks have like a stranglehold on New York City that I don't think any other team will ever have because the Nets are fake. No New Yorkers actually like
no one gives a shit about them.
And but New York is really split between Mets and Yankees, and Yankees do have the more rabid fans. Like we get a lot of Yankees fans that make the Knicks fans so crazy. Like, and we hate Yankees fans, but when they're in Madison Square Garden, I love them. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, we're great. We're friends.
But I just think, and also like the Mets do get like this. Like 2022 felt like this for a while. When the team was ripping and we had those like series in like August and early September before
the Dodgers
series and the Braves series before we totally fell apart. those series in Citi Field were like fucking special. Like they were awesome. Like it felt like every single night there were barely any seats open in that park. Every single pitch people were locked into. When DeGrom was on his run, Scherzer was pitching well. Everybody was hitting. Like those games did feel like what the Mets with Citi Field strives to be. And again, I think Citi Field keeps kind of moving more away from baseball and more towards weird things like fan engagement. Yeah, but we're going to just see what happens this summer. Like hopefully it's fun. The roster, the farm system we tell you guys about every week seems like it's getting good enough that we'll be there again soon. But the Knicks just have a special place in every New Yorker's heart, and like everybody comes together. It's like that famous like Crips and Blood meme. We've tweeted that a few times. Like Mets and Yankees when the Knicks are playing well, like we don't care anymore. Arms around you, anything. Fuck Philly. Just let's win the series. But that game ends, and we get right to the 8th inning of this Mets game. Quintana gets out. He gets Wilson Contreras out. Edwin Diaz comes in. Still looks a little bit off.
But he was disgusting still, though. It was like weird.
I told you, it's the slider. It's not that's worrying me, not the fastball. Like he always throws the back me up slider. It's a weird pitch, but it works for him because it's just the fastball's so good. But I think maybe now the fastball's a little bit less good. The slider seems hittable. He had one that was a meatball, Nolan Arenado. We still couldn't hit it.
Oh yeah, we got so lucky.
It is, but he still seems so uncomfortable at hold it back. He was multiple check swings. Same with Goldschmidt. Like it. He still looks really good. This is just crazy first world problems that Edwin Diaz ERA is, I think, either 1 or just barely under it.
It's 0.93.
And I think his K rate is to like 50%. And we're like, he doesn't really feel right. But again, he does it. But he did. He got to 98 miles an hour again today. I think we're like less than a month away from the first Mets 100-mile-an-hour pitch in a year and a half. I can't wait. I'm so excited for that, to see that 100. I want a pure 100. There's no 99.6s. I want 100.0 on that. That's what's going to count. But still great, and it's amazing that we can have Edwin Diaz pitch against the heart of the order in the 9th inning because we have Reed Garrett hanging out waiting for extra innings to be the shutdown guy. For him to get through 2 extra innings, give up 1 unearned run, 1 ghost runner to score, on a ghost runner that maybe shouldn't even have scored. It's just, I say it again, he leads Major League Baseball in wins this year. A lot of that has been the Mets' timely hitting, but also he has been the most important player in this roster. He has.
Up until today, because the White Sox ended up sweeping the Rays, Reed Garrett had 5 wins. The White Sox got their 6th win today. The Marlins have 6 wins. Reed Garrett almost has as many wins as the Miami Marlins. That team is terrible. 6-23. Yikes.
I feel like a lot is going to change in baseball too when we get to like an all-star break and someone like Reed Garrett, I think he's tied with another reliever, are like leading the league in wins.
Like you're gonna almost have to put him in the All-Star game if he keeps this up.
I mean, I think he has 5 wins, like 3 holds and a save. Like, why the hell not at this point? He's actually been one of the most
6.61 ERA, striking out 40% of the batters he faces
in rotisserie fantasy baseball leagues. I think he's been one of the 20 most valuable pitchers, the 10 most valuable pitchers the whole season. Wow. It's insane what he's doing, but he's doing it. Again, I think this is really going to change. This is really going to click everything in like baseball people's minds when you see Reed Garrett lead the league in wins at the end of the season with 11. You're like, pitching is never going to be the same again because it's not. No. But him getting through the extra innings was great. A lot of people thought that Tyrone Taylor had a chance to nab, I think it was Brendan Donovan at home, or Michael Ciani at home plate.
I thought he did.
A play that Pete cut the ball off and probably could have turned around and gunned him. But in extra innings, I was talking to you about this, I was talking to my dad about this, you almost just avoid the beginning. You almost have to assume every time this ghost runner's on, a weird rule that I still like, but still just weird to strategize with still, that 1 run's going to score. It's man second, nobody out. That's runner's over, 50% chance of scoring. You almost have to assume it's going to be scored. And again, first pitch fastball. Also funny that, again, Reed Garrett throws like 4 fastballs in 2 innings his entire outing. He threw 20 total pitches. Only 4 of them were fastballs, which is one of the highest percentages he's actually had in a few weeks. And the 1 fastball was a single that drove in the run. Those other 3 pitches, they led with the sweeper over the splitter. It's crazy how he's pitching right now. I'm so happy everyone in the world's getting hip to Reed Garrett. But the fastball did him in. Thought there was a chance to get him, but did overall, I don't think Pete did this on purpose, but just kill the inning.
And I think upon further review too, like if Pete tried to throw it home, no shot. There's no way that he's going to turn and throw that. Also, I don't trust Pete throwing.
Not at all.
Don't do it. Not at all. The second thing would have been if he just let it go through. And I don't think Tyrone's throw was going to get enough off of a bounce because Ciani can fly. I didn't realize he was that good of an athlete. And Keith was like marveling at how he was like, I thought they should let that through. And then he saw him make the turnaround. He goes, oh, man, wow. So that guy can fly. Like, that was pretty to watch him run. And it would have been a bang play. I'll say this: it would have taken a perfect throw. I think based on where he was, you would think that they have him. Never realized how slow Nolan Arenado was. Like they should have had him in Saturday's game because he was just. I mean, it looked like he was walking around the plate and they couldn't get it done. That would have been close. You're right though. Definitely stop the beginning because Brendan Donovan would have still been on base, or he would have been on second at that point.
Top of the order.
I think he walked the next batter, Reed Garrett. and it would have been first and second, nobody out.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you're like, oh shit.
With Goldschmidt
The
and
Mets
Arenado
are going
coming
to
on.
lose by 6. Like,
Yes.
that would have been a big problem. You stop the bleeding, you get the big out there. Even just having one out and a guy on first changes the whole feel of that inning completely. Reed Garrett might not have been staying in the game if they didn't get that out. He might have come out. You don't know.
That's what I'm saying. So I think, again, like, you almost have to just let that 1-run score, just be okay with 1-run scoring, stop the beginning. Because, again, we came up the next inning, and we were ready to go. 2 guys got out. Harrison Bader, who's been a wildly, weirdly unsung hero for this Mets team all year, on an 0-2 pitch. For some reason, who was pitching? Was it Gallegos? No, it was still Matthew Liberatore. It was Matthew Liberatore still. His third inning of work. It was not very good. I saw that firsthand. For some reason, there was Harrison Bader, a dead red hitter, an 0-2 fastball. No idea why. Bangs it up the middle for a single. Then Mark Vientos, who came in the game and got a single, pinch hitting for Baty with Liberatore in the mound, which we're going to talk about this a lot in our mailbag. You guys have a lot of Mark Vientos questions, but could be foreshadowing things to come there. Comes up, and I think it was a 2-strike pitch, just laced a home run. Because when Vientos hits the ball, he's got such power, man. It carries so
he can
well.
Make it carry.
And the big thing with Vientos is that it was a 97-mile-an-hour fastball he turned around, which is a huge deal because we're very fair in the show. And we said that.
And it was up in the zone.
We said in the show that Vientos, I think, still has a lot of potential as a baseball player, but he doesn't play very good defense. Coming into the season, he has not been able to sustain a walk rate yet, and he can't deal with velocity. The Major League is going to see a lot of velocity. I'll just drop the stats because I have him up right now. Last season, he faced 131 pitches, 95 miles an hour or harder. His triple slash was 184, 273, 447. So still had a lot of power on those. You guys see that 447 slug, but absolutely not enough contact. Whenever he hits it, it goes far, like today, but not able to sustain that consistently. 36% whiff rate, 42% chase rate, 30% zone contact rate. All those are well worse than league average. And then 97-mile-an-hour fastballs, 115, 172, 269 triple slash, 42% whiffs, 48% chase, 26% zone contact. Really bad. That was why he was bad last year. That's why he wasn't getting his opportunities, and that's why he wasn't able to be a major leaguer. But coming in today, after the month he had, turning that pitch around, and you guys can see the emotion that he had running the bases.
He was pumped.
Second the ball hit his bat, you knew it was gone, and he was screaming bloody murder the whole time. He looked like he was letting demons loose when he was coming around. He said after
when he scored at home, he stood outside the dugout and he screamed as if that was years of frustration that just got out of him. Almost like a moment where if things start to go well for Mark Vientos, you'd look back on it and be like, that's when it changed right there.
Did you hear what he said after the game to the press?
No, I didn't. What did he say?
Says the best feeling of my life.
Wow. Oh, I mean, listen. Again, like you said, we're very fair on the podcast. We've been hard. I've especially been very hard on Mark Vientos, and it's not from not wanting him to do well. It was just here are the facts. I get tired of hearing idiot Mets fans at times say stupid things that don't matter, so we want to give you guys good information. But if he hits like this, if he stays like this, if he can hit velo, if he can give us that power potential, he has a spot on this team. There's no reason why we wouldn't want him here. He just has to prove it, and hopefully this is one of those moments that helps turn the page and move him forward and can be a part of this team that can be helpful because the power is legit. It is hard to find power like Mark Vientos has the potential to have.
And he just gets that great backspin anytime he really makes contact.
Yeah, so good carry.
The ball carried so well today. He just kept going and going and going. And shout out Michael Ciani because, again, he, as an athlete, definitely
almost made a sick catch.
He got so high up in that wall and he gave every single inch there, but wasn't enough. And this was a big game for the Mets, similar to the earliest week against the Giants. Salvaged the series. A bad 6-game stretch against teams that are kind of meandering around the same 500 levels. The Mets teams you might be somewhat competing against for the wild card. I think this Cardinals team sucks and they won't hang out very long. But since Sonny Gray did come off the IL, they're better than 500 ball club, so I think they might be hanging around as long as he stays healthy. Just thank God he didn't get swept. You kind of can stay close to the 500 if you avoid these sweeps, avoid these losing streaks, especially already having a big one to start the year. So not a good series, but a good way to end. Good feelings for it to end, and good enough to at least as we head into a 4-game series against another team in the same NL wildcard melange, the Cubs this week. But before we talk about that, I told you guys we got a listener mailbag for you today. So gonna head to Twitter now, find some questions, answer them, see what you guys got for us.
I'm going to let you pick the first one there, James, because I'm looking up Brett Baty numbers because he got hurt against Pittsburgh, right? He got hurt in that last game against Pittsburgh, missed a game.
Might have been the first game of that series, the last game against the Royals series before.
I think it was Pittsburgh because he came out of the game early on 16th. So and then he sat the next day, sat a couple more, and then played the last 2 in LA. So I think he was hurt there. But since he got hurt, not including today, he was 2 for 20, hitting 100 with a 317 OPS. If you guys have noticed, Brett Baty's numbers have dropped. Got a double today, though. That was big to see him get an extra base hit. Maybe that hamstring or whatever was going on with him is feeling a little bit better, but he's looked pretty terrible at the plate recently.
Did he hit that ball hard? Did he pull it? Was it lifted? I wasn't watching that play. Did you see it either?
He hit it. He got a double in the books. Double in the books.
Right,
I don't know. We were watching the Knicks game. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. We were locked into the Knicks game, a little box score watching here. But even from a mental side, it's got to be nice to just get a double.
Totally. And I think, again, the first question we'll do this mailbag is just about Vientos. We had Sloppy Shotcha. That's funny. He asked us about him. Joey Sports fan Joey asked us about Baty. DOA Mets fan asked us about Baty. NYM Mets memes asked us about Baty.
Baty did not hit it hard.
Yeah, a lot of people.
76 miles an hour.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So, but a lot of people asked us about Baty Vientos. And I think that Mendoza answered it pretty well after the game. They're like, what do you think the role is going forward? It's like, he's going to be in the lineup tomorrow. And I think that's kind of the way this is being played with Vientos. He's only up here because Shoutout Marte hit the bereavement list over the weekend. Yes. Shoutout Marte and the family. Don't know what that is, but hope everything's okay. Vientos does things that Baty doesn't do. Baty does things that Vientos doesn't do. Baty's a much better defensive player. Vientos just simply hits the ball in the air harder, more consistently. Baty started off the year really hot, felt like he was breaking out. We told you guys last episode. Now it's become much more public knowledge because usually the Messed Up podcast is about 12, 24 hours ahead of everyone else.
Way faster. You know, Steve Gelb's told like the story that we told on this podcast about, what player was it? It was about Baty. It was about like the Baty confidence thing, talking with Mendoza and all that kind of stuff. And he told it like 2 days later. I was like, Stevie Gelbs. I mean, a little late to the party there, bud.
Moonface Steve Gelbs, the nicest guy in media. But I don't think you're going to send down Joey Wendell. He's on a guaranteed contract, and he does something that neither of them can do, which is play very consistent infield defense and be able.
Though he hasn't done it yet.
I know, but I still believe that someone who's done it forever will do it at some point, and he could do that second or short if need be, where these guys definitely cannot. But I don't know if he has like if Vientos has 3 more hard hit balls tomorrow, like who or today, I guess when you guys are listening, like who knows? Like maybe Baty has an option, DJ Stewart has an option. Like if he proves himself that he can be here, he might have to be. But I also he wasn't on this team for a reason. I don't think that this team would let like 2 games of sample size change that. It'll be interesting to see if maybe I can pull up the pitching matchups now for this Cubs series, jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm sure.
Here's where it gets tough.
What?
Is that it's as simple as this with Vientos right now. He doesn't play second base or shortstop
or third, really.
Or even really third base. And while Joey Wendell, God forbid he plays shortstop. Like, I really hope we don't have that. But we don't have another middle infielder right now that can just come into the game besides Joey Wendell. If Lindor or McNeil, something goes wrong with them, or they need a break, or they feel weird, whatever it is. So, like, it makes it a little bit tough for a guy like Vientos to find a spot on this team unless he forces their hand and hits as well as he has in this tiny little sample we've seen.
Well, and that was also what I was saying before. I don't think there's any chance that Wendell's the guy that gets sent down, even though I think people want him off this roster. I think it would either be Stewart or Baty. And those guys are both lefties, so then you're kind of losing a matchup advantage there. And again, like this was something that Baty didn't have the best spring, but his underlying stats were a lot better in the spring. Like he was lifting the ball more and pulling it more and chasing less. He's doing all of those right now worse than he basically ever has in his whole career, which is really, really troubling signs. So maybe the Mets are seeing that, and it might just be time to give Vientos a shot here. But again, also, they've been really concerned with matchups. So I don't know why if they would send down lefties, especially as JJ Martinez just came back and now is going to be the everyday DH on a right-handed batter. That makes, again, this was what we said when JJ Martinez was signed. It just makes little sense to have Vientos on this roster. These guys are a little bit extraneous with each other. Unless they trust Vientos to play third, which they did today briefly, but I don't know if they would do that long term. He did win them the game, but it's also, we can't let one event that happened in a baseball field maybe change something that they know more about. But also, I don't know. Baty's not playing well right now at all. Like, there's not, Vientos might give this team more. It's just, we don't really know, but I'll support whatever they do, I think I'm going to say.
Baty hit the ball hard on his 2 outs today. He hit 199, but he's just not been really hitting the ball consistently hard since that little bit of a hot start to the season. It's tough. It's like the lamest answer ever, but you do need some of that defensive versatility. And the fact that Mark Vientos doesn't give us any when we have no middle infielders, like it's the choice between him and Wendell. And DJ Stewart's playing good baseball, guys. Like you kind of can't send DJ Stewart down when he's rocking like a 370 on base percentage right now on the year. Like how do you send that guy down? He's everything we thought Daniel Vogelback was going to be. Like,
no. And again, it is kind of lame too, but the few things that Vientos has already done this year are probably things that the Mets were like, these are the reasons that you're not on the
we
roster
have
now.
JD Martinez as well.
True,
Like,
but also
yeah.
the fact that his defense was bad, they right away put him in the field today. So I don't know anything about how he was playing defense AAA, but the fact they were comfortable enough to do it, it's probably good news for Vientos. The velocity's been a big deal for him. We just talked about the stats, talked about him a lot last year. I've tweeted about it many times. Immediately comes in, it's a game-winning home run with 97-mile-an-hour fastball. The walker is something he's never been able to sustain. I think he only walked like once or twice all of spring training. This year, it with Syracuse AAA, he had one of the best walk rates in 20-game sample that he's had as a professional baseball player. So those things happening in small samples is probably like that he's doing everything he can, everything they're telling him to try and be better within his limitations of talent. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's a very awkward situation right now, but it just does probably mean that as much as we want one of these guys to be the forever third baseman, every day kind of feels a little bit less likely. I still think Baty has more in his toolbox to do it long term, but our buddy Michael Morgan asked us today a question just like to lead into this. We kind of end this little Baty Vientos Wendell discussion. At what point do we just assume Brett Baty will never lift the ball? I don't think he's garbage or anything, but this is the same issue Vlad Jr.'s had with 25 miles an hour or less average exit velocity. Seems wild for a hitter as talented as him not to be able to adjust his mechanics. And it does seem that way, but I think I've heard hitting coaches talk about this is one of the hardest things a hitter can do. Start lifting the ball. It's taken Alec Boehm 600 Major League Baseball games to figure this out, but now he's figured it out. So sometimes the patience is rewarded, but sometimes you just can't afford that patience. And it just depends on the organization, depends on the rest of your roster. It's hard to tell, but I don't think we can ever assume that because we see guys sometimes figure this out much later in their careers. We saw José Buttó figure this out when he was 30. We saw JD Martinez figure that out when he was 30.
Josh Donaldson.
That's what I'm saying. It just, everyone's different. Sometimes you need the right coach, the right situation, the right moment, the right day, the right drill to do this. And we're not in the rooms. We don't know, but that's just kind of it sometimes. You can never assume never, but it depends how much patience they have. I think they have some, but I don't know if they have a ton.
Yeah, I think Baty probably is going to have to start to hit again at some point. It's just we can't have right now 4 batters with a 600 OPS in the lineup when there's the opportunity to maybe get some juice out of somebody else. But I'm by no means, and I don't think you are either, done with Brett Baty. I'm still not there. He's still too good of a baseball player to be playing the way he is. It's just now we're seeing more, and we have to maybe calm ourselves a little bit with how that season started and see where it currently is at, because he has a 620 OPS right now.
And he's doing all the underlying stuff worse than he did last year, and that was the confidence thing for me in spring training. That's why I was telling you guys I was excited for him. I was tweeting about it all the time. But even still, Carlos Mendoza as a young manager still seems very reactionary. I think Baty was hitting cleanup 11 games ago, and now he's hitting 8th. You probably shouldn't be moving a young player around that much either, because now he's seeing in these small samples that he's not getting results, and now you perceive him so differently. Instead of going up to 4 and down to 8, just maybe leave him at 6 or 7. So we're not making the kid freak out. But again, I think Mendoza's been amazing overall, exceptional. He gets an A in my book. But that's the one thing that I'm just give these guys a little bit of consistency here, especially as these guys are I don't know. It's nerve-wracking time. You're trying to create this job for life. You're trying to prove you belong. We've heard Baty talk about that specifically. And that's that confidence thing that he needs. And he seems like he's still playing with. And the at-bats are still mostly pretty good, but he's got to do the underlying stuff better if we're going to think he's ever going to really become the guy we want him to be.
Steve Gelbsley on the DJ Stewart story just clicked about the going up to his locker, telling him you belong here or whatever. So the other thing to talk about, Christian Scott. A lot of you guys want to talk about Christian Scott. A lot of questions about when's he going to come up. We saw Houser struggle again. How many times are we going to see this? He has an 8.5 ERA. Christian Scott's been tearing up AAA. Even Joey Lucchese's been pitching well in AAA. And we've got McGill. We've got Peterson who are on their way back. They should be around maybe in the summertime, early June, whatever it's going to be. What do we do? Is it time to call up Christian Scott? I know that I think he pitched today, right, James? And that if you keep with the schedule, that would mean that Thursday
or Friday
could be the day, or Friday could be the day that Christian Scott gets called up to pitch for the New York Mets. I would love to see it happen. No disrespect to Adrian Houser, but he's pretty expendable at this point if this is how he's going to pitch. And I would just rather see some upside than hope to God that Adrian Houser only gives up 4 through 5. That's kind of where we're at right now.
I don't think there's any doubt that Christian Scott is a more effective pitcher than Adrian Houser right now, but just the way that teams call up prospects, especially pitchers, it still just doesn't seem like it's going to be right now. I don't think that the Mets are calling up Christian Scott for a Thursday day game without enough fanfare. The Mets are very concerned with marketing as an organization. They're so concerned with marketing. They're doing hot dog day on Tuesday. Also, brilliant touch by the Mets. Do hot dog day the same day as Knicks game 5. Brilliant touch.
Yeah, that
No
was
chance
a mistake.
No chance of getting near the ballpark when the Knicks play game 5.
I really wanted to eat like 10 hot dogs for $10. Like that would have been a great time. But also at the same time, we've got a big Knicks game and it still is April.
Yeah, and we'll see also if the Mets
Fingers crossed for rain. Maybe some rain on
right?
Tuesday so we can get a rescheduling.
Using Seymour Wiener also in the ad was something I never would ever, from being inside this organization, expected this Mets team to do.
But it was awesome. It was awesome.
Props to them for having a little fun.
Did you see the Athletic article, Will Salmon wrote an Athletic article about our friend Seymour Wiener, catching up with him, asking about what he thought about all the people, all the fanfare, all the publicity he was getting. He said it was the best experience of my life. I absolutely loved it. I got my day in the sun. This is the coolest that could have ever happened. Like if my name Seymour Wiener put a smile on someone's face, that's the greatest that could have ever happened to me. So shout out you, Seymour Wiener, 97 years old, fucking legend.
And he's had that name forever, and that's been a funny name for all of time. And even in the 1940s, that name's hilarious. Like, there's nothing that's changed in the last 80 years that would make that name not funny. But shout out to him. So, yeah, I also wish we could have been in the ballpark for the dollar hot dog night because we could have made some great content. But also, I'm sure that there's going to be like some fine print where like these 2 hot dog stands doing dollar hot dogs, and then like you have to wait in line
for an hour.
100-person line to get, and you can buy max 2 at a time. Like I'm sure some funny is gonna happen. So maybe you guys tell us on Twitter so we can report on that effectively next week when we get back here. But it's just it would be. How did we get in this topic? Oh, Christian Scott.
Marketing.
It just feels like it's probably gonna be a little long. Like they're gonna market Christian Scott's debut. This is gonna be the most anticipated Mets pitching debut since Steven fucking Matz. It's been a decade since we were excited about the Mets pitching prospect, literally. Yeah. And it's just, I don't think we're past the Super 2 deadline yet either. We saw Jackson Holiday get sent back down by the Orioles. So the service time that he accrued, it was just before the service time with a fully vested.
Really?
Yeah. So again, it's so crazy. These guys always do this by accident. But now it goes back down. And service time doesn't even count anymore. But it just feels like we're not, I don't know. It just feels like it's not going to happen yet. It feels like, and also again, he gave another home run today in his AAA start. He didn't get many strikeouts again. I still think he's awesome. My guy TJ Stats, he had a great thread about Christian Scott being next great pitching prospect this weekend. You also shouted out our podcast. We got a nice quote to you from TJ.
Yes,
he's the boy. TJ's the man. But it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen yet. Like I feel like as we're seeing Tyler McGill and David Peterson make these rehab starts, Mets fans don't want to hear it, but I think they're going to get the shot before Christian Scott is. Like the time I gave before the season was still like June, July. It felt like it could have been Memorial Day if he ran through this league, and he is running through the league, but it just seems like you're going to really wait. I don't think they want to rush this at all. I don't think they will.
Yeah, it doesn't. David Stearns is not one to rush these kind of things. That's the only reason why I kind of side with you. He's just historically never been one to do that with pitching. He is pretty calm and rational about what to use with these guys. But at some point, I think Houser's going to leave the rotation. If he just can't keep pitching like this, and it might not. It's going to drive people actually crazy when it's not Christian Scott and it's going to be Joey Lucchesi. People are going to freak out, even though we love Joey on here. Joey Fuego is a friend of the pod, great dude, awesome guy. If he ever wants to get a beer, maybe we'll go up to Syracuse, see if Joey wants to grab a beer. I'd love to just have a beer with him at a bar in Syracuse.
That reminds me, I'll start planning that this week. Us to go up there.
Yeah, start planning that.
Yeah, I'll figure that one out. I'll talk to our boy Carson. But
yeah, I mean, like I feel like it's probably going to be him first before Christian Scott, just because you also have that control over Joey Lucchesi. You probably want to see what you got out of a guy that you made a trade for Andy Rodriguez for. See what it is.
I don't think that matters. This is a whole new regime. They don't care about that.
It is a new regime.
David Stearns isn't thinking about the opportunity cost of Joey Lucchesi because some idiot made a trade 3 years ago. That just didn't happen.
Fair.
But we're really dragging on here. Let's try to get through some more questions. Something
I got a good one.
Hey, tell me.
This comes from Zero. How do you feel about moving Lindor to the 4-hole? And then he went Nimmo, Pete, JD, Lindor. And you know what I'm going to say? I don't really hate it. I kind of like it. I'm cool with it.
I don't either, but I think the 2-hole would break Pete Alonso's brain.
It possibly could, yeah. That's the only concern.
It's funny. Splits in his career, he's actually been really good in the 2-hole compared to the 3, which is random. But I just think that it seems like we've gotten a long way around for this lineup, and it always winds up Lindor 3, Pete 4. So it just seems like that's something those two might want. And I think just player comfortability is always more important than lineup construction. So if these guys like that, if they feel more comfortable doing that, I feel like that's where we're going to stick.
Okay, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm willing to try it. It's not like the offense has been stellar by any means. So if this makes it better, sure. But I could totally see this breaking Pete's brain as well. I could see that being a possibility. It just also feels weird. Like Lindor, I feel like is one of our 3 best hitters to hit him 4th, but score runs. That's all. We admitted we liked when we didn't think starting Marte in the 2-hole was good. They started scoring runs. It's great. Let's keep rocking with it.
Totally. This is another a funny question we have here. Young St. Kendall. Let's say the team stays on its current pace, 500 team. What should you do at the trade deadline?
Oh, man. That's...
feel like our answer is going to be different than what actually happens.
Okay, so here's my answer. What should we do at the trade deadline? Trade Luis Angel Acuna for anything. If people still interested in him, take him, whatever. I think you probably look to move a prospect or two that's lower in the organization. And I'm not going to say like Jonah Tong specifically, but like if there's a name that's a little bit hot that maybe feels like they're far away, 3-4 seasons even still, especially on the pitching side, because we know relatively speaking, pitching prospects are like so fake at times. So if you can get some helium on some of these guys, I'd flip one or two for maybe a more controllable piece. I'm not talking about getting like the caliber of like a Juan Soto, but if you can go out and kind of do like what they did with Stroman that 1 year and look for a guy that has 2 years of a control to give up some prospects, I think that's the spot that makes the most sense.
The problem is that's not always an option. I think it worked out that
That's
year
fair.
because it was possible. Like I'm thinking in my head right now, just top of my brain.
I'll look.
Like the Red Sox could sell, but I don't know how much control is on that team. Jesus Luzardo just got hurt. He's going to be the major sell candidate. The White Sox have nothing besides Eric Fethy, who I told you guys about. He's a beast. He's pitching super well.
I still won't believe it.
He's pitching super well. But I mean, again, the Marlins probably won't even make that trade in division. Everyone in the NL and the NL Central still playing well, except the Pirates, who I think are going to get hot when Skeens comes up. I just don't know who that controllable arm is right now that could be on the move. The Tigers are playing well enough where I don't think no way they trade Skubal. And I think he would cost a ton to actually get, more than just pitching prospects. So I don't know. It's just the Red Sox guys stick out to me right now because they've been pitching so well, but I don't know who they would trade. I think Pivetta only has 1 year control left. He's the only one that I think they would send off. I don't know. The Royals are playing well. They're not doing it. Again, the White Sox have nothing. Maybe the Rays.
I got one for you.
Who?
I've got a good one for you. Zach Eflin.
I guess, but that's too good of a contract. That's like, what, 2 more years at $15 million per?
Yeah, but like for the Rays, they're like, we can get rid of $15 million and get some guys like and especially because the Rays team looks pretty terrible right now.
They have to super fall out of it still. Like I don't think the Rays will quit unless they're like 10 games under at the trade deadline. Correct. Maybe that is the guy. Like that was the big miss. It seemed like the Mets front office last year as well, screaming for Zach Eflin to come to this team. But maybe that's it. But I do think if this team's at 500, unless they see a move that will help them in 2025, I don't think they make it. And I think there's a better chance that they'll just sell a bullpen piece or two, and it'll suck to see. But
Raley is probably the first guy that you'd be like, let's cash in on him.
Even out of Vino.
Yeah.
And he'll be pissed off because how much media he's doing in New York, but it's just like, that's it. And you guys remember too, it's a weird example, but another guy who could be that guy in the move, Jorge Lopez, pitching great for the Mets. Orioles traded him in 2022, and people were pissed because they hadn't made the playoffs since Mr. Showalter was there. But it wound up getting them a better piece, and they wound up being better for it process-wise as an organization. So sometimes it might feel like shit to not go for it in the year. Sometimes you just gotta trust. Like maybe we shouldn't trust that much. We still haven't seen enough, but I still trust David Stearns a lot, and it could be awkward, but that's it.
Okay, I got another one here from Adam Darbell. He says, how much longer of a leash is McNeil going to have? Could we realistically see Jet take his spot by the end of the season? I don't think it's Jet. Jet has been struggling in AA. I don't know if you guys have kept up with it.
I think
he's still walking.
I think he got concussed this weekend as well. So Rob Colon asked a question about that. I don't know the extent of the injury, Rob. Didn't want to ignore your question, but I don't think he's coming to the major leagues this year. I think he has a lot more developing to do.
Yes, he's definitely, I don't think, ready just yet. McNeil is doing some concerning things, but also there's some stuff that isn't the absolute worst. Sweet spot percentage is not something that I necessarily love, but I've looked into it more, and it kind of does tell you about when a guy's hitting the ball well enough. And he's hitting it well enough, but he's just hitting it in the air a lot, and well enough in the air is not good. Where McNeil lives is when it's well enough on the ground and he can find those holes. But this is also the problem that we've known with Jeff McNeil forever, is that at some point, teams are just going to adjust to him. And right now he's just hitting the ball in the air way too much for somebody who, for lack of a better term, really doesn't have any oomph behind it.
We also can't really move on from Jeff McNeil because the contract he has. It's not really an option. So I think he's just going to do it for better or worse. If Mauricio was here, maybe it'd be a little more of a discussion. And maybe Mauricio actually comes back from the ACL in 9 months. And maybe we see that end of August for September. But I don't think it's anything on the horizon whatsoever.
And like Jeff still has like a pretty good walk rate, and he doesn't strike out. Like there are things that he still does well. It's just when he can't get those hits, it's hard because he's pretty much an automatic out at points in the season.
Yeah, it sucks, but it's just I don't think this is a better option to him right now at all. And I think there's we're about like an hour here, but there's one more question I want to talk about briefly because I thought it was a pretty good one. I think this is the last one. Again, great question from you guys. Appreciate it. We did this over the Media Marvel this week because there really wasn't somebody, and we're definitely not going to force this. We had a couple that we thought were decent, but then a couple that we didn't really feel that good about. So we're still going to trash people because that's something we love doing in the show.
But we love it.
when people deserve it. We're not gonna pick it out when no one happens. But
it's hard to do media marvels when you lose 4 of 6 as well.
Yeah, exactly. And there was one we had in mind, but then it started looking not so bad afterwards. So we pushed it away. But Jeff Burns, Brooklyn Mets fan, do you believe outfield defense has been a major contributor to the Mets' good bullpen ERA? Seems like adding Bather to Nimmo and Marte was going to result in better pitching numbers. Is that what we're seeing? And I think it feels that way. But if we look at the numbers, which OAA is the Mets, that's the defensive metric choice of the Mets podcast, been the most predictive. Shout out Mike Petriello and everyone, Tom Tango, the Baseball Savant crew. Mets outfield defense and overall defense one of the worst in baseball this year by DRS, by OAA, by everything. So I think that's something because we've seen these guys. It could regress positively. But I think that actually the Mets team ERA is good right now in spite of bad defense. That's something we can kind of hang our hats on. It's also cold, Citi Field. We all know about that. It's not an easy place to hit, but I think we should be confident in this pitching. I think a lot of people think the bomb's going to fall out of this pitching. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being stupid, but I'm pretty confident. And Kodai Senga is during a bullpen session on Monday when you guys are listening to this. McGill and Peterson, we're not counting them to save the day ever again, but they're better than like the worst pitchers in this bullpen right now. Christian Scott's waiting in the wings. He's probably going to pitch this year as long as nothing bad happens. So it's just, I think that we're going to get more and better. Severino still looks good. Quintana just has best outing of the year. I'm still confident in Budo. Like, Reed Garrett's awesome. Edwin's awesome. He's not even good yet. Brooks Raley hasn't pitched in a week. Alvino looks amazing.
Like Smith's hurt. And we're still keeping it together. Like, this team's pitching, and this is something that we talked about a lot. Like, we made that title on the YouTube thing, like best bullpen in baseball, as like kind of like a joke. But we also talked about it. We're like, there's a world like this is the modern bullpen. This is how bullpen should be used. It should be pieced together. It should be a bunch of guys with good stuff who can do a variety of different things. Something that you've seen the Rays and the Brewers do for a few years now. And what do you know? They typically have some of the best bullpens. There's no reason to pay bullpen guys all this money. And the Mets did not do that this offseason, which I loved.
And Stern said, and we piped into the podcast, one of those early episodes we did this offseason, saying again, but he said your bullpen in April is not going to be the same as your bullpen in July. And your bullpen in July is not going to be the same as your bullpen in September. You're going to rotate through a lot of these guys. And as hodgepodge as this has been, the Mets have the 6th lowest bullpen ERA in baseball. What else can we do from there? I'm going to load up the strikeout rate right now because I feel like that's also going to be one of the best in baseball. It is the best in baseball. The Mets have the best strikeout rate of any bullpen in baseball. Let me see the whip. Loading that right now. The Mets have the 4th best whip of any bullpen ERA in baseball. This bullpen
might just be good.
This bullpen has been holding this team together all year. Then Sierra, just going to answer the question from our girl Bella coming in real quick. But best stats for pitching. You're going to strikeout minus walk rate, Sierra, and stuff plus. Mets strikeout minus walk rate. The best for any bullpen in baseball. Just got ahead of the Cleveland Guardians today. 20.2 versus 20.1. The Mets Sierra in the bullpen is the 4th best in baseball. Like this bullpen is really good. Let's see the stuff plus just for fun. Let's check it out.
Yeah, why not?
Well, we're here. We might as well. Mets stuff plus out of their bullpen is the best in baseball.
There we go.
So it seems like everything is happening with this Mets bullpen is real and is something we can rely on. And it's so cool to see something that we know David Stearns has been good at for another organization be able to implement it this quickly. And the fact that we're getting the pop-up relievers. Edwin's still the man. Ottavino's hit a new gear. Brooks Raley looked good. Drew Smith looked better than he did the last 2 years. Like, it's so cool to see this happen.
Fucking Garrett.
So happy to see that. That's pop-up relievers. So happy to see this should happen quickly and it be functional and it be very literally holding this team together through the first month of the season.
Yes. No, it's been the most important thing on this team. It's not even a question that the bullpen is why we are a game above 500 right now, almost through the entire month of April. We've been talking for an hour. Let's quickly do the Cubs preview. There's not actually that much to really preview. It's a 4-game series against them. The Cubs are just kind of playing some decent baseball. They're a decent little team.
Good team.
What are the pitching matchups for this one, James?
Pitching matchups this series, 4-game set, 3 7:00 game to Citi Field and a Thursday matinee that we'll both be in attendance for. Plus my college roommate Levon coming to town. Good, not a sports guy, so Mark and I are going to inundate him with sports for a few days because that's our life. Monday night, half an ace off here. A couple guys who would love to be hurt but are healthy right now. Former Yankees, Luis Severino versus Jameson Taillon. Taillon has come off the IL and has been really good so far this year. Tuesday, a game that we're not going to see a pitch over 93 miles an hour. Sean Manaea versus Javier Assad.
Nice.
Wednesday night, an actual ace-off. This game I am stupidly excited for. José Buttó versus Shoutout Mark.
Nice. He did it. You got it. He's learning.
And then Thursday matinee, the game that, of course, we're going to be in attendance for. Adrian Houser versus Ben Brown. I know.
God.
Brown's fun.
I want to see another Adrian Houser start. I think I've seen every Citi Field start he's made this year. This is like fucking Carlos Carrasco all over again. Oh my God.
But
I can't handle it. I would love to see Shota on Wednesday. I know you're going to be busy. I might sneak in for that one.
I thought we were doing trivia Wednesday. We're doing trivia Wednesday. We haven't done trivia in like a month.
Yeah, we are doing. Oh, man, that's tough. Yeah, you know what?
TV's in the bar. What do you mean?
TV's in the bar. TV's in the bar. And you know what? You won't be able to appreciate Shota at the field. You don't get to see it actually.
True.
On TV, you get to see it.
And I want to talk about Shoutout quickly because he's someone that I want in the offseason, someone that you, just like Eric Fetty, were wrongly against just because you were trying to be a little baseball hipster.
Small sample.
This is small sample, but he's quickly becoming like one of my
good.
major pitcher crushes. He has, I think, one of the lowest ERAs ever for players' first 5 starts in the major leagues. He's given up, I think, what was the stat?
Just wait till he comes to Citi Field, the raucous crowd, the fan engagement. Queens Crew's going to fuck him up.
We haven't seen the Queens Crew in a month. I don't know where they're at.
They were here on Saturday.
Okay,
I
there
think
we
they're
go.
just going to be doing weekends.
Okay, that's cool. I still support the Queens Crew always, even though they took our money. But
yeah.
Shota Imanaga has quickly become one of the most fun pitchers. Shota Imanaga has quickly become one of the best pitchers in the league. His fastball it's so sexy, it's incredible. 160 ex Wobegon, 4th lowest for any fastball in the league, 10th lowest for all pitches, and just that means that the hitters cannot make contact in this pitch. And the contact that hitters make is really poor contact. It's getting a lot of pop-ups, a lot of weak fly balls. No one's doing damage against it. And the whiff rate and the strikeout rate aren't even really that good in terms of fastballs, but it's such a unique pitch in terms of its very, very, very flat approach angle and the crazy rising action it has. The pitch just gets on lefties especially so well and so quickly, even though it doesn't even come in that hard. Watched on TV this week. It's a levitating pitch. The guy's ridiculous. He's also given up, I think, like 2 barrels the whole year. None on his splitter, which has been a really, really good secondary pitch as well. He's super, super, super cool, super awesome. Looks like a crazy bargain for this Cubs team. He's 0.98 ERA, 4-0 in his 5 starts, 28 strikeouts, 28 innings. And 28 strikeouts also go with, let's see how many earned runs this guy has. 3 total earned runs and only 3 walks. He's been completely lights out, fueling this Cubs team through a hot start, and he's, again, it just feels like the Kodai Senga thing all over again, where people were scared about some things that have all been mitigated very quickly.
Yeah, so he's looked really good. On the offensive side of things, got a familiar face coming to town, James.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Crow Armstrong, the prospect that probably was what we thought Jared Kelenic was going to be. Pete Crow Armstrong. He's looked really, really good since getting his call up back to the majors. His first home run, hit a double, has been hitting the ball hard. He's a freak athlete. He's going to make crazy plays out in center field. He's looked really good. Cody Bellinger and Seiya Suzuki on the IL, so you're going to see him. God. You're going to see an old New York faithful Mike Talkman, the Sockman, who's just been getting on base like crazy, because of course he does. Mike, man, a lot of Mikes on this team. Michael Bush has been hitting the ball really well. Dansby Swanson, I'm not going to say anything about Dansby, but you know who he is. And Christopher Morel, I'm telling you right now, is going to hit a big home run in them for this series. I know it's going to happen.
Christopher Morel had probably the hottest first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Since then, has had one of the coldest 2 or 3 weeks of anybody.
That's Christopher Morel. That's what happens when you are Javi Baez light, essentially.
Yep. I mean, also the plate discipline was really good, like similar to Volpe, and then suddenly got really bad again. So kind of weird how that's going on. But Michael Bush has been awesome this year. They got him basically for free from the Dodgers because Dodgers just have too many good players. Dansby Swanson weirdly has no PS. That's the same as Francisco Lindor, but the rhetoric is a little different. I know Lindor makes a lot more money than him, but he's also a lot better than him. So we're gonna say that. But Seiya was one of the best hitters in baseball, and he went on the IL with an oblique. I had him in every single fantasy league. I was so excited about that start. Of course, he pulls the oblique, but he's still awesome. Miguel Amaya has been an interesting little player for them behind the plate because Yan Gomes just has always swung a pool noodle, and Amaya.
Had a home run for Yan Gomes this series.
Yeah, it's going to be a lock. But again, Maya's not been great. But I think he's like an infusion of youth and athleticism back there. And I'm happy to shout out Pete Crow Armstrong because he's someone that I think we just live in such a reactionary baseball world, just like sports climate, Twitter, and everything right now, where he had 30 bad games last year as a 21-year-old rookie. And everybody totally quitted him, thought he was a bust, thought he sucked. I think he's still going to be a really good pro. I don't think he has the superstar ceiling that seemed like he had through the minors, but as a guy just with power, speed, and plays great defense, it's a high floor.
But also maybe he does. He's 22.
Exactly.
It's so hard to actually evaluate these guys, and I know he's going to have a great series. No ill will towards Pete Crow Armstrong. Again, it's because an idiot made a bad trade.
Yeah, of course. And again, we can't do that. I mean, it was still a Trevor Williams trade. Until Pete Crow Armstrong has more WAR than Trevor Williams had in 2022.
Trevor Williams trade.
I'm not admitting shit about that. But trying to look at the reliever, I want to shout out the series. Mark Leiter Jr. is really fun.
Ooh, how about my boy Luke Little?
Luke Little's your boy. I'll let you get to Luke Little, but Mark Leiter Jr. is a lot of fun. He throws just such a cool little splitter changeup. It's one of the most unique pitches in baseball. Kind of looks like the Ghost Fork. It's probably the most similar pitch in baseball to the Ghost Fork. It's a lot of fun. Luke Little, Mark Scott, but Albert Alzolay usually is good, but he's not been very good this year. Hector Neris is someone who I'd love to hit because I just can't stand him.
Yeah.
It'll feel really good to get to him like we used to when he was a Philly before he got good with the Astros. Jose Cuas is great stuff. He's been awful. I don't even know if he's actually still in the Major League bullpen.
They sent him down.
All right, there you go. So I'm going to talk about Luke Little for a few minutes, and we'll send everybody out.
Yeah, Luke Little, big dude. I think he's like 6'7" or 6 foot. He's 6'8", 220 pounds, left-handed reliever. He got popular in COVID because during COVID, everybody was just making videos of themselves. He went to a JUCO. He went to San Jacinto College in Houston, Texas. There's a video of him throwing a bullpen inside, and he threw 105 miles an hour. It was not a strike. It was nowhere near the zone, but he went, holy shit, 105 miles an hour. He ended up going in the 4th round of the MLB draft. Shout out to me. I said that was one of the best picks in the draft for the later rounds, which just your boy knows talent, especially 2020 MLB draft. I was money. I was so locked in. And he's a fan of me, Giraffe Neck Mark. He posted a picture with a giraffe and tagged me once. I'm like, did you mean this? He's like, I love your videos, man. You're the guy. So maybe I'm gonna hit up Luke, see if he can get me on the field. Ooh. Do I try to cash that in? See if Luke Little can get me on the field for one of the games?
Why not? That would be kind of sick. Also, we really wanted to have a friend of the program, someone we shout out, Lance Brosdowski, on to preview the series. He was a little busy. Again, I'm the scheduler on this podcast. Mark can't be bothered, and I've just been in Europe and had a wedding, and I've been jet lagged, and I've been tired. And my mind is a mush. But we're probably going to try and have him on at least another point this season. Maybe we can play the Cubs later in June. But now that I'm back in America, we're definitely going to try to have some content creators or some people who are just like relatively famous fans of teams. So maybe Brave Series next week. You can reach out to some friends. I know we got some series against.
Maybe.
Yeah, we got the Phillies series coming up too. We're going to try to get Baseball Perspectives Robert Orr on here, but definitely going to start reaching out to people and do these little team previews, hopefully like 10, 15 minutes with another cool baseball mind. Because I feel like that'd be a fun wrinkle to add to the show. And then you got some reviews. I'm going to close the show out.
Yeah, we've got a review from Josh_11 from Germany. He said, I started listening in April 21st. The AAA Mets, as the boys call them, just got handled by the Rockies. It's been 3 years, so I just wanted to say thank you guys for the great podcast as a German Mets fan. It was nice to hear you two guys simply talking about the good and the bad of the Mets. Learned a lot, many expletives, and happy you guys are back to the old ways. Still the official Mets podcast. Appreciate you, Josh. We've got one from Zoso33 who says, started listening to this pod when it was affiliated with the team. It was good then, but better now. Good blend of expert opinion and fan passion. The media segment should be called Media Malfeasance. Thanks for the awesome pod, LFGM. Thank you for that, Zoso. These are all 5 stars, by the way.
We have a lot of reviews.
Pod. Thanks for 3. Best Mets pod around. Great analysis of both major league and minor league parts of the organization. Approachable and fun listen while also incorporating some of the advanced stats that really lets us listeners project player performance into the future. Keep up the good work. And that came from Drew and a bunch of numbers. So, guys, thank you so much for that. We do appreciate it. What do you got, James?
I got 3 more reviews on mine.
You got 3 more reviews on yours?
Yeah.
Who?
3 more. Ryan Keating, a couple days ago. The Best Mets podcast. Hey, guys, been listening. This is a long one, so I'm going to get through it. Hey, thank you again, Ryan. Thanks. It's a great review. Hey, guys, been listening since I was back in high school during the dark days of James McCann hitting cleanup and Janesh Fargas patrolling center field. Good times in the podcast.
Second Janesh Fargas mentioned today.
This guy's a legend and have loved it the whole time. I'm about to graduate college now.
Whoa.
He sounds like he got through there really quickly, but this guy, Ryan Keating's a super genius. I'm about to graduate college now, and this pod has been something that I can always count on. The time spent affiliated with the Mets was fun and gave some cool insights, but I've always enjoyed hearing your real takes and everything about baseball without having to be overly optimistic. James is thorough pitching analysis and maybe a much better informed fan, and Mark is always knowledgeable and passionate host. Creates a good combination and makes always fun, informative listen. I'm located out west in Arizona. So you guys ever in the area of spring training, I'll show you where to grab a good beer. I'd love to do that. We love Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Big fans of Arizona, the Messed Up Podcast. Keep bringing us great content at LFGM. Also, one shout out boy LT Spears. He came back to the YouTube comments.
Yes.
That was dope. He said that he was
cool.
using voice to text to get on there, and he said, wishes he was a big linebacker. So yeah, double shout out to LT Spears. LT, you're the man. Keep interacting, baby. So next one here, REW Jacobs. Another super. You guys are the best. I love our fans here. These are great reviews. Make baseball fun again. Spoiler: Mark and James already do. Only been listening to a short while, but goddamn, this podcast is a breath of fresh air. So much better baseball coverage these days in the crotch of the old baseball traditionalists who are as entertaining to listen to as watching paint dry. Just a little insight. Like, the whole reason we want to even do this podcast because we feel like that a lot of baseball content kind of sucks.
Yeah.
People are either just super boring or just hate baseball, and it just kind of is a big gap in the system, and like it's just fun to do. But
we've always wanted to be like, you guys are just hanging out with us and we're having a beer and we're bullshitting about what just happened.
Yeah, bullshit about what happened. We'll also adding just some cool shit that we saw or we thought of. Like that's it. We want to be approachable. We want like to hang. Listening to Messed Up is like your 4 Coors Light deep at your favorite dive bar with your boys, talking ball and getting reasonably hyped about your team. That's exactly what we're going for. I've never been so jazzed about spin rates and stuff. Plus, I've been listening to Mark and James talk Mets. Balanced mix of discussion, overall team performance, individual team performance, and prospect talk. Keep grinding. I'm sure the sponsorship will start flowing. Definitely hope so. Beautiful. And then P.S. Need more collab content. I remember you guys did that ballpark video a while back with someone I'm not going to shout out. Yeah, that wound up being a pretty horrible thing for me. But yeah, we did do that once. I don't know. We'll see if we ever do that again. But last one from Shry Shubs. The best Mets pod to end all Mets pods. Been listening since the first episode during the 2020 offseason. Fuck yeah, that's insane.
Hell yeah.
We maybe had like 75 people listen to that episode. So,
Yeah.
dude, you're the man if you listen to that. Stuck through that disappointment in the Mets season, the lockout. Haven't missed an episode since. I always look forward to the next one. Super passionate fans, share the same energy and attitude towards the team. I enjoy the non-baseball talk as much as regular Mets talk. That's great because some people do not, but appreciate you, Try Shubs.
And that is it for the reviews. If you want to be shouted out, drop us a review. We appreciate everybody out there supporting us. Remember to follow us on our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel. It truly is probably the best way to support us. We actually get paid over there when you guys view that one, so we appreciate all the views over there just a little bit more. But no, we're just messing with you.
Yeah, we also need to get Spotify listens up because that's how we're going to get more spots in the future.
No,
so if you guys want to do like one of each, just like play the YouTube channel. You got to listen to it. Just put it on a tab. Just let it run over there. Then you can listen on Spotify. That would be the best you could do.
Follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
And I'm Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and we'll catch you after the Cubs series. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.